Kathy, the latest census shows a great dramatic growth in the Hispanic population in Fort Worth. The Human Trafficking Division and Gang Task Force don't currently have any officers fluent in Spanish. How would you address not only this deficit, but the deficit in Spanish-speaking servants in the public to serve the people who speak Spanish that are in our community?
Well, it is very clear that we have a huge surge in the Hispanic population. The numbers indicate that, last census numbers indicate that we are now 35% Hispanic. Now that's documented, so we know that the numbers are probably even larger. And I think that what happened in the Human Trafficking Division is unknowns to many people, we have a serious problem in human trafficking. And we had 2 officers that were expertised in that particular problem. They were fluent in Spanish, and they were asked to be, or they were actually reassigned. And I think we're going to be mindful as we move forward with the city and its services and make sure that we provide the language opportunities for our Hispanic population since they're growing so profoundly. I also think that we'll have an opportunity with our redistricting to make sure that we have appropriate representation on the city council as well.
Frankly, I think that's a simple answer, and that is you either reassign or recruit Spanish-speaking officers who are for those divisions so that you can ensure the delivery of health and safety services to all segments of the population. Our duty to provide for the health and safety of our citizens extends throughout all citizens of Fort Worth, and if we are somehow deficient in the personnel that enable us to do that, then we have to fix that problem.
Fort Worth does have a huge Hispanic population, and we have to recruit and train our officers to speak Spanish. In the tax office, when I took office, we have 8 locations, and we only had 4 Hispanic-speaking individuals at the time. Now, every single one of our 8 offices has at least 2, and often 3. Every publication we have is available in Spanish to you. Some folks like to fuss about that, but people need to be able to understand their city, need to be able to understand their police force, and in our case, they needed to be able to understand their taxes. We found it was much better to communicate with them and offer it to them. We have to focus on that. Human trafficking cannot be allowed, and we must put resources to train our officers if we don't have them, or to recruit Spanish-speaking officers.
Well, I think everyone agrees we need more Spanish speakers on the police force, the fire department, in special task forces. The only thing I'd add to that is that I think it needs to go a step further. It needs to apply to all city employees. We need to make certain that there are Spanish speakers at every level in every department in Fort Worth, so that when members of the Latino and Hispanic communities try to contact them, they feel that there's someone on the other end of the line who understands what they're saying. There's oftentimes a great deal of miscommunication between the 2 parties, and I think that if we had people in City Hall who were more fluent in Spanish, that there would be a greater amount of dialogue and communication and more openness between the Hispanic and the communities in City Hall in general.
Census told us there are 742,000 people in Fort Worth. I'm going to tell you that whoever told us that number hadn't driven through my neighborhood, and haven't driven through most of the neighborhoods in Fort Worth. There is a tremendous other population out there. It's the undocumented worker. And so we are providing services for everyone in the city of Fort Worth. And this has been an issue for a long time. And until you voters gave the police department meet and confer, they were limited on how they could recruit because we were controlled by state civil service statutes. Now, under the meet and confer statute, we have a right to manipulate that problem any way we want to and recruit in a different direction. We can recruit Spanish-speaking cadets to put them into our program here. But I don't know whether you're aware of this or not, but on the north side of Fort Worth, there's also an extremely large Vietnamese population. And so this is an issue that's in all over our city, and we have to come to grips with it. If you're going to police a neighborhood, you need to understand the culture and you need to understand the language.